if you are a young person today, you spend up to 8 hours of your day every day on social media, mostly consuming video content. And that has created an entirely new, massive part of the economy that didn't exist 10 years ago. And look at the number of young people who want to be content creators or influencers. It's huge, like majorities of young people saying that they would do that if it was an option available to them. And the incentive structure in those spaces, particularly when it comes to political communications, any kind of social commentary, is to have something new and different to say and to drive a reaction that is anger, fear, outrage, because that is what algorithms optimize for. And so that might feel disconnected, but when you have so many young people spending so much time consuming content that is being driven by that incentive system, they are really strongly steered away from sort of like the common sense, common ground sort of goals, and more to the outsides, where the people that they're following and getting information from and perspective from are looking to have the most extreme take on a topic. That makes people much less willing to sit down next to someone that they don't agree with, because they have been trained to sort of like that outrage reaction is Pavlovian. Like, it is really easy. You asked me the question earlier as a joke, like about being triggered by like someone critiquing Hillary Clinton. And I think that actually cuts right to it, right? Is that like, are people now so easily turned off by the potential benefits of working together because you don't share every imaginable opinion that they have, that it's blocking the ability to work together? And I think that we're moving towards a place that the answer for a lot of people is yes. And that's, especially online, something that I try to actively work against. I've been vocal in my qualified support of Joe Manchin. He's like a good example of this, right? People hate Joe Manchin. Democrats in particular hate Joe Manchin. We're furious at him for the bills that he blocked in 2021 in particular. And as the Biden administration took over. And my perspective was very much not what is he blocking you from achieving, but what are we going to get passed because we have Joe Manchin's seat in the Senate? And the answer was a lot. It was the infrastructure bill and Inflation Reduction Act, climate legislation, the Respect for Marriage Act, like the list goes on, and the PACT Act, the list goes on. We wouldn't have had any of those things if it were not for Manchin, if it were not for, cinema is her own story, but we should have more of these people, even if they don't agree with us on everything, even if we don't get everything that we want, we have some of it exclusively because he was there. And he did ultimately get across the finish line. He's leaving, we're losing that seat, and we'll see if those people are happier probably without the Senate majority in 2025.
I was, my daughter is 20. And so she's my oldest, and she's a sophomore in college. And TikTok, right, what's on her feed, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Towards Biden.
Yep.
Brutal.
Yeah.
How do you relate to the 30 and under crowd? This is a communication business, right? And I make that point, right? It's like, I'm a Jet fan. They won their last Super Bowl before I was born, right? I was born in 70, right? But I was like, how would Joe Namath have done in this past Super Bowl? Like, he wouldn't have done great.
Mm-hmm.
It would have gotten rolled over. Can't move. And it's a communications business, right? You watch this every day. I thought this was a huge mistake, and I like Gavin Newsom. I consider him a friend. When he goes out and he says, no, no, he's 82. This is the asset, right? This is the wisest man in the land, right? Get on board with that, right? All I can think about is in the Bush campaign in '04, right? Is that the campaign being oriented around a fight over whether George Bush is a genius or not, right? Which would not have been a successful fight, right? And
Right.
so I feel like when I listen to him talk
Mm-hmm.
about it this way, he's antagonizing me, right? Because I'm not happy with the choice
Mm-hmm.
at all. Yet the choice is as crystal clear as any choice can possibly be. And I think a big element in this electorate is not going to be this like bullshitted happy voter. It's going to be the grumpy voter,
Yep.
right? Where you're going to have to. This is going to be hard because the DNC in the White House is they're fucking miles from this right now, right? Which is the concept of right not happy with your decision to do this again, which by the way is where 86% of the country is, right? This
Right.
idea that we don't agree on anything, like 86% of us, right? The MAGA people, like everybody agrees on this, right? But this is the choice, right? That lays out before us and it's going to happen. But I think you're going to have to find a way to reach people who are really indifferent about the importance of the choice in a way that doesn't involve beating them over the head,
Mm-hmm.
right? About the thing that core they don't believe, right?
Yeah.
Which is it's a great choice and you should be happy about it, right? Do you have a thought on that? How you engage like younger people on it? Because it is, I get the clips from my and they're not, she's gonna vote for him. She will vote right for President Biden, not because I'm making her, right? I mean, under her own volition for a lot of reasons. But when it comes to the brutality of the mocking and the culture, none of this makes it on to MSNBC ever. And I think a lot of people that are in the kind of democracy coalition are blind utterly right to what he is subjected to in a moment to moment basis. It's brutal.
I absolutely agree. And I think that you're putting it better, but that's what I'm trying to drive at with when I talk about the incentive structure online, is that I don't doubt that the people sharing that kind of content believe it. I think that they do. But we also have to acknowledge that they are strongly incentivized to create more and more and more of it when it performs well. I start every conversation about Joe Biden with, I wish I wasn't Joe, like this year. I'm very open with that. I talk on Instagram a lot about the presidential and many other elections, and I'm very open and say, like, if I had the power to pick, Joe Biden would not be on my top 10 list. Like, he just wouldn't.
Thank you for listening to my political commentary. If you like what you heard today, please also consider subscribing to The Warning daily newsletter on Substack.